Hey everyone, I have quite a plethora of items in front of me, and today I really just wanted to share all of the materials that I use with you and show you everything that I paint with. A couple of disclaimers before we get started, but every item here, all the brands and companies, none of them sponsor me. Everything that I have in my collection is just part of my personal choice. And secondly, some of these materials that I have here today, I'm going to just touch on without going too in depth. For instance, brushes. I'm gonna show you my personal collection of brushes, everything that I use. But I do plan on making a full brush tutorial in the future that will go more in depth just on each brushes and specifically what they do. So starting off with the most important thing, which is probably paint. I use oil paint, and the entire time, my entire painting career, I have only ever used one brand of paint, and that would be Winsor & Newton oil paint. So we've got two paints here with me right now. We've got the student grade Winsor & Newton oil paint, and then we also have the artist grade right here. So for the student grade paint, you're gonna find this in these colored tubes, and then it's also going to say Winton oil color, and that is kind of their line of student grade paints. These are gonna be really affordable if you're just starting off. I want to say that when I was buying these, they would retail at like $20 per tube, something like that. They're just gonna be a lot less pigmented than the artist grade paint. But honestly, they're great. I used them for a couple of years and I still use these for my underpaintings. Next up, we have the artist grade paint, and it's going to say artist oil color there on the tube, and instead of having a colored tube like these, the artist grade paint is going to be in a white tube and have like a color swatch right there. So these are gonna be a whole lot more pigmented than the student grade paint. Most people probably will start with something like this and graduate to this if you start taking painting more seriously, or if you're doing it professionally. I want to say that these retail at kind of around $30 to $60. And that range is so broad because depending on the pigment that you are buying, sometimes it'll be a little cheaper, sometimes it'll be a little bit more expensive, but if you can swing it, I definitely do suggest the artist grade paint. So next up we have mediums, and I think a lot of people find mediums in oil painting to be very intimidating and complicated, but I think you'll be surprised at how simple my use of mediums is. And with that being said, there's only two different mediums that I've ever used. The first one is liquid and the second one is linseed oil. So starting off with liquid and some of the pros of liquid, it has a very, very high gloss finish. If you like that kind of thing, it's gonna be very, very glossy. And secondly, it does have a very nice consistency when added with the paint, and just a teeny bit, you don't need a lot, but when you add a little bit with the paint, it really smooths it out very nicely, and then it's also very quick drying if that's something that you're looking for. And now some of the negatives of liquid, and you will see this if you open the bottle, but it is super, super crusty and it yellows a lot. And it's pretty much due to the quick drying time. It just gets really gunky and gross. I used to kind of put a glob of it on my palette, and I would just dip into it when I needed it, and I would leave it out overnight, and because it's so quick drying, it would form kind of like a skin over top of the product, and I would have to kind of break that skin to get into it, and it would just get really crusty and gross all over my palette. The last thing that I will say about liquid is that it can be a little bit fumey and stinky. So it's probably best to use this if you have a room with a window or kind of a larger room or just a well-ventilated space. Now, moving on to linseed oil. I love linseed oil. I've been using it for a couple years now consistently as my medium, and it's been great. The consistency is really, really nice with linseed oil, and I think I actually like it a little bit better compared to the liquid. And it's gonna be a little bit slower on the drying time than liquid, but I don't find that it slows me down a ton. I was a little worried at first that it would way slow down my drying process, but to be honest, it might take a day longer to dry than liquid. It's not a huge difference. And the other great thing about linseed oil is that it stays very nicely, And I just have this little like teacup that I keep it in, and this just sits on my palette. It never gets bad. It always stays perfectly fine, so it's great. My only tip when it comes to using mediums is to not overuse it, because to be honest, it's really not needed. It's going to just overly thin out your paint. And if you overuse mediums, it can make things like varnishing very difficult down the road. And that is about it with mediums. It really is that simple. I've seen people who will mix 2 to 3 different things together. And if you have some fancy formula or something like that that you like, then more power to you. But I have just yet to come across a need to do any of that. So I find that keeping it simple is very good. Moving on to brushes. To be honest, I have a little bit of everything. I've got all sorts of different shapes and styles, bristle types. I've got like natural, synthetic, expensive, not expensive, and to be honest, I use a little bit of everything, and there is kind of a place and time for each brush. While I certainly have types of brushes that I prefer and that I use more often, I do find that each brush kind of comes in handy in creating different textures in painting. And all of it gets used. If I could choose a favorite brush or a brush that gets used the most often, it would probably be these kind of long stemmed brushes that are square, but also that the bristles, they're not too dense or stiff. The bristles have some kind of give to them. But I will say, out of all of the different sets that I have a lot of sets by different artists. If I had to choose a favorite set, it would be kind of these very small, fine detail brushes. And these in particular are by Michael James Smith. I literally think I have 3 or 4 different sets of these. I use them so often. I literally probably use them every single day I paint. I definitely use them for every painting. And yeah, I cannot part with these. They're my absolute favorite. The last thing that I will kind of mention when talking about brushes is just how I separate everything. I personally like to keep handle lengths together. So like I like to keep all of the long handles together, all the short handles together. Also sets, if they come in a set, I like to keep those together. For instance, this little jar right here, we have all of my long handled square shaped brushes. And in this jar, we've got long handled kind of round shaped brushes. These are a couple of sets that are kept together. And then I have this, it's actually an old little candle jar that I have kind of converted into a paintbrush jar, but I keep all of my short stemmed or short handled fine detail brushes in this little jar right here. Oh, and then I also have a jar kind of in the middle that I use for a lot of like blending type brushes, fan brushes, fluffy brushes, things like that. Next on the list, we've got palette knives, and I actually might not use these as much as you might think. It's pretty rare for me to actually use a palette knife to apply paint to the canvas. Pretty much my only use for palette knives is mixing paint. So my favorite palette knife that I have, I believe it's just from Dick Blick, and it's their brand, but it's kind of nice, and I don't know if you can see, but it's nice and flexible. It just makes mixing paint very easy, and it's also kind of wide. Unlike some of my other palette knives, which barely have any flexibility to them, to be honest, I don't use these a whole lot. Next up, we have canvases, which is also an area that I am not really particular, but I will show you what I use. And typically, if I am doing a commission or I'm buying a specific canvas for a specific piece, first off, I don't really stick with a specific brand. I use kind of several different brands, but what I do like to look out for are these like gallery canvases or the heavy duty canvases. So these are going to usually be kind of hefty on the sides. There's usually about like 1.5 inches in width here. And yeah, I'm not very particular about the material. I think it's just kind of like a heavy duty cotton with a heavy duty frame. And usually at most art stores, this is going to be like the heftiest canvas that you can buy. So most of the time I tend to like to stick to these like gallery heavy duty canvases if I can, but I also have a lot of these little guys laying around that are much, much thinner. If I am doing a smaller piece, sometimes I'll use these thin ones. The one thing is I typically don't charge quite as much if the canvas is thinner like this, but sometimes they can be a bit easier to frame, a little bit easier to ship, and there are nice things about these thin canvases too. The last thing that I use as far as canvases go are going to be these little artifacts panels. You can get them either in like the panel form like this where they're very, very thin, but even though they're very thin, they're really, really sturdy, probably like way sturdier than your typical canvas. The texture is really nice, and to be honest, something thin like this is going to be really easy to frame. Or you can get these in like a gallery format like the first canvas I showed you where it's got very, very thick edges. Next on the list, we've got thinners, everyone's favorite thing. I really don't use these a whole lot. I am, for the most part, toxic free. The only time that I will ever use a thinner or mineral spirits or anything like that is for my underpaintings. And if you're interested in learning more about my underpaintings, I have a full tutorial on that. But I will use Gamsol mineral spirits to mix in with my underpaintings. I do that probably once a month, if that. And then the other thing that I have as far as thinners goes is going to be just terpenoid, odorless. I used to clean with this, but now I do not anymore. And I will show you here in a second what we do clean with. But these are toxic. Try to use these as little as possible. And when you do use them, make sure that your space is well ventilated. Try not to touch it, all that good stuff. So for all of you guys who think that oil painting is super toxic and that you have to clean with thinners, you do not. And I will show you what I clean with right now. This is like one of my absolute favorite things on my table here, but it's gonna be Murphy's oil soap cleaner or wood cleaner. It looks like this. You can buy this at most any like store. They have it at Walmart, at Target, places like that. And for this size, I literally think I spent like $3 for this whole thing. It's amazing. Previously, like I said, I used to use terpenoid to kind of start to clean my brushes. I would loosen up the oil paint with the terpenoid and then finish off cleaning the brush with just dish soap until I came across this. And I kind of had low expectations for this, and the first time that I used this, I think I like literally gasped because like the paint, it just felt like the paint melted off of the brushes, and to be honest, it might even clean better than the terpenoid and other thinners like that. So I highly suggest this if you use traditional oil paint. It is an amazing, amazing cleaner, and it is completely toxic free. So we have been through kind of all of the main items that I use. So I now thought I would take you through kind of the start to finish process of my paintings and touch on anything that we may have left out. First of all, my underpaintings. Like I said, if you are interested in learning more about my underpaintings, I have a full video on that. But I do get asked a lot on what pencils that I use because everyone thinks that I have a magic pencil because the wash from the underpainting does not kind of dissolve the pencil or wash it away. And that is not the case. I just have regular pencils that I use. This one I use a lot to do the sketches. Is actually just like a woodless graphite pencil. I like the woodless pencils because you can get kind of a nice variety of line work. But I will also just use like a little mechanical pencil for my sketches. So nothing fancy for that. The reason that the sketch stays in place and doesn't go anywhere when I do my underpainting is not because of the pencil, but it is because of the fixative. So I use this. This is just Krylon workable fixative, and after I do the sketch, I pretty much will take the canvas outside because it's very, very fumey spray, and I will spray down the entire canvas and let it dry for a second before kind of putting the underpainting mixture on top of it. But this will ensure that your sketch is not going to go anywhere, and you can paint on top of it. My one tip for setting the sketch is just to kind of rub it or like use something to run over the sketch after you're done, just to ensure that the sketch is not going anywhere. And sometimes you might have like a little bit of graphite that comes up onto your hands or transfers onto your hands, but it should not be smudging around the canvas after you are done spraying it with the workable fixative. We are now going to move over to my painting space here. And first up, my palette. So I use just a little glass table as my palette. This one in particular I got on clearance at Hobby Lobby. I think it was like 30 bucks or something like that. But I love using a glass palette. It's amazing. If you are going to use a little glass table like this as a palette, my one recommendation is just kind of painting the bottom of the glass a neutral color, just so you're not seeing through the glass, because sometimes like seeing with the floor and seeing a bunch of different other colors can interfere with how you see the colors that you are trying to mix. And then over here we have my wall-mounted easel and the piece that I am currently working on, so you get kind of a sneak peek on that as well. But I switched over to using a wall-mounted easel like this not long ago. It's been maybe like 4 or 5 months that I've been using this, and I absolutely love it. It saves me so much space in the room here. I've got kind of a small little studio, so if you have a small studio, using a wall-mounted easel like this is amazing. I feel like it's like 3 or 4 feet of space that I'm saving. And I also prefer that the canvas is perfectly vertical instead of being at a little bit of a slant like it would be on kind of a traditional easel. When the painting that you're working on is sitting perfectly vertically, at least for me, I get a lot less reflection or a lot less glare from the light above, and it's just easier for me to see what I'm painting. It's easier for me to see what I'm working on. And it's also very, very sturdy. I've had massive, massive pieces on here. I think the biggest so far has been 3 by 5 feet. But it's been very sturdy and it has been able to hold those pieces as well. I got this from an Etsy account, an Etsy shop, I guess is more what you would say. And it is called Studium Art Club, I believe, but I will link them or put it right here. And this is just the largest one that they have available. They've got different sizes, but it has been absolutely amazing. I love it so much and would gladly buy it again. We have made it to the final 2 items that I have for you today, and that is just kind of what I like to call post-production of painting, and it's just signing and varnishing. So for signing my pieces, sometimes I will paint my signature, but it's more often that I kind of sign it with a pen. And I don't have the exact pen that I use sometimes here with me, but I try to just use like a white oil-based pen, kind of like a finer, what would be a finer point than something like this, but just any white kind of oil-based pen works for me as far as signing. And for varnishing, I use Gambar Gloss varnish. It's been great. I feel like this is probably one of like the most popular varnishes for oil painters because it is a retouch varnish and you don't have to wait kind of like the traditional 6 months that you would wait with a normal, more traditional varnish. This will allow the painting to continue oxidizing even with it on top, so you really only have to wait until the painting is dry to touch. I've also heard people say kind of using a fingernail in some of the thicker parts of the paint, and if your fingernail is not making too much of a dent, it's okay to use this. But it's been great. I like kind of a glossy finish on my paintings. I will just pour this into like a little bit of a bowl and use a brush to put this over my pieces when they are complete. A couple of tips that I would say when it comes to varnishing is use as little as possible. I see people using way too much varnish. You only need a teeny tiny bit. And I also like to varnish the edges because when I varnish a piece, I will lay it out flat, and if the edges are not varnished properly, sometimes you'll get like little drips down the side where you can kind of see the shiny varnish. So make sure that the edges are varnished well, but that is about it. That is what I use for varnish. That is what I use to sign my pieces. And after that, they are all ready to go. And that is about it. That's everything that I have here. That's everything that I could think of, all the materials that I use. If you have questions about anything or if I left anything out, feel free to leave a comment and I will get back to you. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. That helps me a ton, and subscribe if you want to see more. But yeah, stay tuned for more full tutorials like this, and leave me more ideas in the comments of tutorials that I can make for you. And thanks for watching.